Storytel Original presents The Reunion by Araceli Gutiérrez, narrated by Elise Roth. Chapter 1. The Search Begins. She opened the door as she would on any other day, but she could never have expected what she found. Something in the duplex had changed, and she sensed it the moment she entered. She knew that Izan had a business lunch and that Guille was at school, but she felt as if someone was encroaching on her space. As she crept into the living room, her heart sank. On the table she saw lines of cocaine and a bottle of gin. Her first thought was that someone had broken in to rob them, and once there had decided to get high. Fear gripped her by the throat, and she could barely breathe. Hiding behind an armchair, she called the police. She couldn't think, and she wasn't sure if she'd be able to speak when they answered. She needn't have worried. A sudden cry of laughter made her look up. That's when she saw them. Izan came down the stairs with no shirt on, accompanied by a woman in her underwear. Her world stopped. She couldn't move, no matter how much she tried. Her body wouldn't respond. She remained motionless while her husband and his companion approached the table to snort their lines of cocaine. Her life flashed before her eyes, but it was as if she had front-row seats to a movie of her life that didn't even feature her. She rose like a robot and stood, motionless, in the middle of the room. Izan looked into her eyes, transfixed, with pupils so dilated they didn't look like his own. "Lara? What are you doing here?" She didn't understand how he could ask such an absurd question. Perhaps he'd forgotten that this was her house and that she had every right to be there. She should be the one asking questions, but she asked none. She wasn't sure why. Perhaps it was because she was unable to articulate any words, or because she was so overwhelmed by disgust that she felt physically ill. "Lara, this isn't what it looks like." Lara wasn't really sure what it looked like. She just knew that an emptiness was consuming her, seizing her entire being. She looked at Izan one last time. She didn't even glance over at the woman, who had quickly put her clothes on while Lara and her husband faced each other in silence. Then Lara walked out of her house. It's interesting how a single point in time can drastically transform the shape of your reality. There comes a moment when everything simply shatters: your life, your dreams, your hopes. Suddenly, the time you have is ruined, taking you along with it. You don't even know which parts of you will ever be fixed, and which parts will simply be lost forever. Lara had realized she'd left her cell phone at home while she was with her first patient of the day. When she reached for it to log her next appointment, it wasn't there. She asked herself several times during the morning how she had ever managed before technology took over absolutely everything. Her phone contained her entire life, both personal and professional. Later, she also wondered why fate had caused her to forget something so important, and how that little incident would end up shattering her life into 1,000 tiny pieces. She had 45 minutes to drive home, pick up her cell phone, and return to her patients without anyone noticing. She planned on skipping lunch that day, or eating on the drive back to work. A piece of fruit would suffice. Simple thoughts made it seem as if everything was under control. She no longer recognized her own life, though. Fragments of it danced in the air, looking, albeit unsuccessfully, for a place to settle. Life is full of uncertainties that appear without warning. Sometimes, a single bad act can unravel a love story that once seemed eternal. He wasn't there. He wasn't anywhere. She didn't know why she'd chosen to visit Bandipur, why she'd gone to a town in the mountains of Nepal, high in the foothills of the Himalayas on the other side of the world. Neither did she know his name, what his face looked like, the color of his eyes, or the texture of his skin. She only knew his soul, and that was enough for her. There, wandering through the clean, silent cobblestone streets, she watched.
Sample complete. Ready to continue?